What's up, guys? Another monster here, anothermonsterproductions.com. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk with you about gain staging, which is a requested topic that I've had in the past, and I'm just now getting around to making this video. So I hope that it helps, and I apologize it's taken as long as it has to get to you. But this is actually a topic that I talk about in my ebook, which I'll leave a link in the description of this video for you. And that is a free download. And basically it's just it's kind of like a checklist of 5 things that you could be, or that you should be looking at while you're creating your tracks and trying to get the best mix that you possibly can. So when it comes to gain staging in this video, I'm actually going to kind of lump gain staging and leaving headroom in together as the same sort of topic. Even though they're kind of 2 separate topics, I like to think of them as the same thing. Just makes it easier to think about as you're producing. But basically what gain staging is if you're thinking of it from a recording point of view, so if you're recording like a vocal, for instance, you want to set your levels at a place where we have our floor down here and then we have our ceiling up here, and generally there's going to be some sort of noise on the floor. So we want our vocal to be high enough where there's not going to be any clipping, so it's not going above 0 decibels, but we want it to be low wait, did I say high enough? I meant low enough so that it's not clipping, but we want it to be high enough so that we're not getting too much of that noise and we don't have to turn it up to bring the noise floor up. So now when it comes to the digital audio, or to the, I guess I should say, production world, there is no noise floor in DAWs. So if you're not doing any sort of recording, if you're just working with synthesizers and all internal digital stuff, then you don't have to worry about the noise floor. But it's still a good idea to gain stage, and it's definitely a good idea to leave headroom. And basically, gain staging also has to do with plugins, because if you're using like any sort of analog style plugins, they do have a sweet spot in them. And there's a little bit of a debate as far as like where exactly the sweet spot is. There are meters out there. You can use a VU meter to kind of determine that. But basically, roughly like negative 18 decibels, I think, is sort of the general consensus of like, if you don't feel like using a meter and doing all that, that's a good place to be as far as gain staging goes when you're using those types of plugins. So as far as headroom goes, let me show you this. If you guys aren't familiar with what headroom is, basically we use a peak meter, which should be in any DAW that you're using. I'm using FL Studio 20, so it's here on the left side of the meter, or the mixer. And a peak meter measures decibels full scale. And I've also got Span here, which is a free plugin, which I use for my metering. It's a spectrum analyzer, and it also has a peak meter right here. And so this is a free plugin, by the way. I'll leave a link in the description for you. And headroom is the amount that of space that's left between 0 decibels and however high we're peaking in the track. So the general like industry standard, if you were to export your track and send it off for mastering, the mastering engineer is usually going to ask you to basically prepare your track in a certain way. And they're generally going to ask for it to be peaking no higher than negative 6 decibels or negative 3 decibels. There's a little bit of variation there. So depending on who you use, they kind of have a preference there. I think the industry standard is negative 6 decibels. But either way, that's kind of a general good rule to shoot for, is around 6 decibels of headroom. So how do we actually implement this into our productions? For me, when I first started producing, YouTube didn't exist. This was like 15 years ago. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a producer back then. I was just kind of experimenting and having fun with FL Studio. I really didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't necessarily serious about it at the time. I was, in various bands and doing other stuff with music back then. But basically, it wasn't until I guess around 2011, 2012, when I really started getting serious with production and meeting some of my DJ friends in the scene who were also producers, who were taking courses online or like in school for production. And so it wasn't until then that I realized that I had been, making this mistake for years and years, and how important gain staging actually was, and leaving proper amounts of headroom, both with your mix and also just, being able to send it off for mastering and that sort of thing. So when I first started doing this, after finding out about it, I was struggling really hard with, finding the proper levels to actually start my tracks at, because what would happen is I'd start way too high and I'd end up like trying to turn everything down, and it just became a mess really quickly. I was never able to get a good mix because I was constantly routing my faders, trying to turn everything down, and then it was just not good. So I went through many projects that ended up probably on a hard drive somewhere, which I don't know if I still have or not, but because I was trying to go through this process and figure it out. So my goal with this is to help you guys out, not have to go through this process yourself. And I want to show you some kind of exact numbers of where to be kind of looking at on your meters while you're creating your tracks. So this track right here that I have is a work in progress still, and it's something that I'm working on for one of my artists, and I've been recently putting in the vocal. We've been working on it for a really long time, but that's enough about the track. Let's just go ahead and listen, and I'll kind of break some things down for you. So this is the track. And I apologize that it's lagging like that. Not really sure why it's doing that. But anyway, you see that it's peaking at the highest just above -6 decibels, which is right where I want it to be. And this is the loudest part of the song, which is why I'm playing it for you. So let's go ahead and just mute everything except for our kick drum. And we'll go ahead and take a listen to, or a look rather, at kind of how high we're peaking with the kick drum. So it looks like we're peaking at, what is that, like -11 decibels. So, and the kick drum is generally, for this type of music, it's kind of like EDM pop type stuff. This is generally going to be the focal point, the loudest part of the mix. At least for me with my mixes, that's the way I like to do my mixes. So I know everything else is going to fall somewhere underneath that. So basically we're good. I mean, if your kick's peaking all the way down at -11 decibels, -12 decibels, -10 decibels, you should be good as far as leaving plenty of headroom for yourself. So let's take a look at some other instruments as well. This is kind of a synth that I have going on here. Little chord progression. So it looks like -16 decibels there. Let's take a look at our sub. So between -24 and -21 decibels there. Let's take a look at, might as well look at some effects. See, I've got these mixed way low. It's going to sweep back up here. So when it hits, it's at like what was that, like -25 decibels, something like that. Let's take a look at, I don't know why I just did that. Let's look at vocal chop. This is kind of like the loudest point of the mix. So just a little vocal sample that I recorded for myself and chopped it up. So this one's kind of a little all over the place, but we're looking at like just under negative 18 decibels. So like negative 19 is the peak of it. So obviously I'm not going to go through here and show you like every single instrument in this entire track. But I think you guys get the point. I think you get sort of a sense of how gain staging could and leaving headroom can be properly implemented into your tracks, and how you guys can go ahead and start thinking about this as you create your tracks in the future. So I really hope that this video was helpful for you. If it was, please go ahead, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hit the bell notification, because that'll let you know every time I release a new video just like this one. So until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video.
Mentira, mentira, how can you